tonight we have Shawn. Obviously, we're excited. I think at this point in time, Shawn, I think I've known you now for 15 years. And without your help and guidance, I can promise all of y'all, and Jamie and I wouldn't be sitting here, and definitely, well, we'd be sitting here. I wouldn't be sitting here in the financial position I'm in now without Shawn. And I'm pretty sure Dom and Dave and Eric Schmidt and Trey, they'd all say the same thing if I got him on here. He's just done so much for us and me and my family. I can't thank him enough, and I'm super humbled and honored and excited to have him on the call. So, Shawn, you there, buddy?
Yeah, man, you hear me?
Loud and clear. How are you?
I'm doing good. There's a lot going on there, bro. It's very structured. I'm very impressed.
Hey, I didn't put that together.
Who put that together?
Jamie.
Good work, Jamie. That was unbelievable, bro. I'm glad I work at this company. I was proud after that. That was outstanding. So, well,
Right.
I mean, first of all, thanks for letting me get on, Frank. It really means a lot to me. And before I start talking, is there anything you want me to talk about? I tend not to get too people like, you wanted me to call you before the call? I'm like, no, I'll just get on. I just talked to Tim Grover about the event. He's like, what do you want me to like? The call was slotted for an hour. It took me 8 minutes, Dom. I was like, here's who's going to be there. Here's what they are looking for. You can talk about whatever you want to talk about. Don't let them down. Like, we were good. So, Frank, I can roll, but what do you want to, do you have questions you want to ask me? There's things you want me to talk about. I don't want to let y'all down. So what are you looking for, bro?
Yeah, well, you never let us down, but there are some things I think could benefit this group specifically. And I do, before we wrap this up, I'd love you to talk about conference because I know what it's done for me. And honestly, never met anybody better portraying a message than you. But one thing I would love you to talk about is, one thing I think you've done a lot for me, but one of the greatest things you've ever done for me was getting me to expand the belief I had in myself and what I thought was possible. And I remember back when we left the first company and what the numbers and what the targets were to get to certain levels, and when you started this, what you raised them to, and then what you got us thinking was possible. And it was such a big jump. When you first said it, I was like, really? Like, I didn't know if I could do it. But the longer I talked to you and the more you poured into us, the easier it became. But I think just getting people to remove that lid of where they think they are and where they could be is something I think everybody could use some of.
Well, listen, man, one of the greatest things about this business and about business in general is that and a lot of people won't internalize this emotionally and intellectually, but because it doesn't require any talent, what I know about, I can look at the screen and go, if Ivan does better than Raina or Raina does better than Alexander, we know why they did better. Like, there's no that, and what's hard to internalize for people is if Ivan does better than those two, he just outworked them and his mindset's in a better place. Now I can probably go through and look at the people. And one of the things I do a really good job of early on is looking at the way people look at me or look at other people. Like the Dominique Rogers on that screen right now, that wasn't Dominique Rogers 14 years ago, bro. Like it wasn't. He didn't make eye contact. He didn't carry himself that way. He didn't look like, hey, man, come be in business with me because I'll better your life. He was trying to believe in himself. And my job was to get him to believe in himself, And yeah, you got to believe in other people along the way, but believe in you. And I think in finding the skill sets people have, Frank, I knew you were smart. I think you knew you were smart. I just wasn't sure if you knew you could build a business that was going to generate tens of millions of dollars. And more importantly, did you believe that thousands of people should follow you? And I think you wanted to, but I think that was a struggle. Same with you, Trey. Same with a lot of people we get to know, man. Like at some point in time, you have to decide as a businessman or businesswoman, yeah, why not me? This business, the struggle with being an entrepreneur is it's a bloodbath. Now, that's what I love the most about it. I love that it is a grind that the world will hit you into. It is hard, man. And in today's world, we were raised in offices 5, 6, 7 days a week. We had camaraderie. We had interaction. We had each other. And now most of it's virtual. We didn't do what Trey's doing at night. We did it in the office with each other. We were there. We called the list like we did it in person. When Dominique wanted to be close and stuff, he got an airplane and moved to Connecticut. But that now again, the world's changed, and that's great. I mean, I say it's great. It is what it is. You know, like at the end of the day, the world's changed. Like, so we have to acknowledge it. Frank, when we built the company, I believed that I would develop into a person that could lead a company doing $1 billion a year. Did I believe I was that person when we launched the company? No. Did I need to be that person? No, we weren't even doing 10 million a year. But I knew I would evolve into that person. I knew that I would learn to be that person. So, Frank, I think the reason that conventions and meetings are so amazing is you get to see all these other, because what we do as entrepreneurs is we go out, right? And then we don't have a lot of success if we don't, right? And what we do is we start thinking that's because of me. So Alexander goes, you know, Jesse submitted 45 grand, but there's no way I could submit 45 grand. No, there's maybe no way you want to do the work to submit 45 grand. There's maybe no way you want to buy the leads to submit 45 grand. Maybe there's no way that you want to be positive and work your ass off to submit for it, but you definitely could do it. So, Frank, I don't involve myself in self-limiting beliefs, and I'm a big solution-focused guy. So if you want to talk about the problem, Frank, when Frank calls me, talking to me about a problem, he's got 30 seconds. I'm like, all right, dude, problem acknowledged. What are we going to do about it? I don't know. We'll call me back when there's a solution. Like, you got to start thinking about all your energy being focused on your solution. You use convention, Frank. There's people on here today who are like, I would go, but I ain't going to go. And here's why I'm not going to go. Here's my problem. I don't have enough money. I'm not in a great spot. I should stay. As opposed to, what is the solution? So I don't know, man. I look at the people. I was just on a call. I was saying this to Andrew Duranzo, who's next to me. I was like, dude, that guy's raised $70 million for his business. Now, Kendall, I wouldn't have given this guy $700,000, okay? But he's raised $70 million. Do I believe in him? No, I don't even think it's going to work. But I'll tell you what, dude, there's power in believing in yourself. When I listen to him talk about it, if I listen to him long enough, Kendall, I believe in him too. And so I start looking at the P&Ls and I'm like, stop talking. And I look at the P&Ls and then I look at the industry and I'm like, nah, man, it ain't going to work. But this guy believes in himself so much, Dominique, that intelligent people cumulatively have given him $70 million. They ain't dumb. Can you turn the air back on? I know I turned it off, but I'm like schizophrenic weather-wise over here. Kendall, I feel your pain with the cold, bro. It's in Florida. It got to be like 58 degrees. I got to go further south. I don't know what the hell's happening here. I used to wear shorts and T-shirt in the winter in Connecticut. Dominique will tell you. But now in Florida, if it gets below 60, I got a jacket on. So I've adjusted, right? So, but you got to understand that I believed so much in what we were doing, Frank, that when people are like, guys or girls could write 20K a month, like they can write 50. They can write 100. Your team should do $1 million a month. Well, why aren't you? Are we converting? You can recruit 14 people a week, like Kendall. Like, what are we doing to talk to people? And what I love about what Kendall said is it's the damn truth. I was like, here's what I've done, bro. Like, this is what I've done. This is what I've done. Would you like to do what I'm doing? And the reality is you got to put yourself out there. So, Frank, self-limiting beliefs. And man, if you will talk, think about how delusional it is that in 2013, we launched a company and I said we'd do $1 billion a year. Nobody in insurance, nobody. Dude, we're the only company that does $100 million a year. Just so you know, to let you know how small the people that we compete with are. They're tiny. Like you're lucky I could walk through the events and do that like they do in like when you're playing ball. They're tiny. They're small. We were talking about $1 billion before we wrote a policy. Frank, did you believe me?
I believed you.
I believed me too. Dominique, did you believe me? Dominique, believe me. Yeah. Trey, believe me. Everybody seemed to believe me. We had no business saying it, but we believed it. And guess what? We might have missed it and only hit 800 million. Well, we're still 8 times bigger than anybody else. And they've been at it for 50 years. So, Frank, sometimes when I'm a big default to aggressive, let's just be bold. And I'd rather, fail trying to achieve something pretty great than hit my goals every single year. My goal this year is to do this much. So, but the problem for us, dude, is, and I said this to Tim Grover. I said, Tim, I've been to events where the person spoke and the shelf life of that motivation is like 7 minutes after that. And why I share that is if you guys don't speak, and I listen, this part's the easy part, but a lot of people will not do it because they want somebody to blame. I can convince any of y'all that you can be great, but if I'm fighting you, it won't be long term. If Zach goes, but you know what's going on in my life right now, it makes it hard. I go, I didn't ask. It doesn't matter. I'm not saying you don't have stuff going on in your life, bro. You might not. Maybe I can see it in your face. Maybe I can't. I'm not mad at you, but you still got to go to work and provide for you and your family. So that don't matter. So you remove that, Frank. Because how many of you got bullshit in life that you talk to people about? Everybody does. I don't want to know, bro. I'm like, I'm not mad at you and I'm here for you, but that only slows me down. Like, why don't we just talk about what we can control? I'm here for you. I'll give you a solution, but let's stay solution focused. So, Frank, I believe in people more than they believe in themselves. And that's what we do is we build people in the business we're in. Each one of you that I've met, I believe in you. Even if you don't believe in yourselves, So,
For sure. So on that track, compartmentalizing things is a struggle for a lot of folks. It's obviously still a struggle for me, but I think I've learned a little bit to control it better.
You're getting better. Yes.
How do you teach that, or how did you learn to, because I've known you for 15 years. I've known you when you were going through a bunch of stuff that most people would be pretty sad or upset about, but you just always seemed like I never knew. I knew what was going on because I talked to you, but like I would never be able to tell from nobody else knew it, if that makes sense. Did you learn that? Did you read a book to teach yourself that? Because in sales, I think that's one of the struggles that everybody deals with is the ups and downs and being able to handle that. But when you have crap going on, how do you just stay focused on the task at hand and not get sidetracked?
No, first of all, I didn't read it in a book.
Okay.
The only book I read it in was the Bible. I didn't read it. There's some great leadership books out there, and I'm not preaching to anybody. Whatever you believe in, don't believe in. I don't apologize for believing what I'm believing. You shouldn't apologize. I ain't judging anybody. But all I know, man, is every time when we started the company, and I share everything, so I don't care. I got divorced 7 days before we launched the company. 7 days. Divorced December 5th, 2013. Launched company December 12th, 2013. Was it perfect timing? No. No, it wasn't perfect timing, dude. I didn't ask. I wasn't fired up about it. I wanted to be. Hell, I was divorced for the second time from the same woman. Like, I wasn't fired up about it. That was never my intent. I wasn't like, hey, I can't wait to get married, get divorced twice from the same woman, have kids with her, and go 0 for 2. Like, that'd be great. I was never motivated to do that. That was my life. That's what happened. But at the end of the day, Frank, when your desire to help other people is so great, you don't have the right to drop your crap into that situation. And if you don't know that feeling, I'm sorry. My desire to help my clients was great. My desire to help the agents was greater. And also, I did not think that it was my job to dump my crap on other people. And also perspective. Most of us, not all of us, hey, I'm 100% sure when I got to know Dominique Rogers that he dealt with bigger shit in his life than he was ever going to deal with in the insurance business. Ever. And like God, like you walked those. So anytime I'm like, oh, you had debt, you had cancer, bro. Like you were a kid. You were raised by your mom and no dad around, which is hard enough. And you went through some shit, bro. Like why do we forget that? We go through the stuff in life, which is supposed to help build us to be better at dealing with crap in the future. And then we forget it. It's just like when you start making money in our business. We have people that are making 70 grand a year, 30 grand a year, 50 grand a year. They make 800 grand a year. They're like, it's not enough. Bro, you was making 30 grand a year. Anytime I got a kid I coached, and one time he's like, yeah, I'm just really having a hard time in the business. I'm like, Ethan, you were working at McDonald's, purple hat, making 40 grand a year. Shut your freaking mouth and you made 240 grand last year. He's like, yeah, no, I guess I did. We forget, Frank. We forget all the stuff in the past we went through because we want to act like we're some perfect. The good news for me is, I'm effed up. Some of y'all pretend like you're not. And I don't know why. Like, I'm like, who are you trying to impress? I don't get it. Like, what is the motivation behind that? You had these things happen in your life. They created the person that you are right now. Why don't you remember that? Like Alexander's petting a cat. My mom had 100 cats, birds, and a dog in a one-bedroom apartment. Alexander, I like animals when other people own them. Not me, because my house smelled like a zoo. My mom's one-bedroom apartment, and she wasn't clean. Cat go to the bathroom on the floor. She don't clean it up. Frank, I don't clean it up either. I was 6. But that's part of my life. Why would I pretend that? Like, I'm just saying, like, as you're moving on in your life, Frank, I compartmentalize it because I give it perspective. And also, I'm always afraid to complain about things, to be honest with you, because I do believe when my mom said, be careful what you complain about, you might get something real. Like, I believe that. Like, I don't care what it is in my life. Don't matter to me. Like, I get messed up. I break a bunch of bones. I have an accident. I'm like, man, thank God I'm alive. They're like, man, doesn't that suck? I'm like, no, dude, God, like, I'm still here. Like, I'm thankful for every day. And you can't be thankful and be complaining. You have to pick one. And most of you, I love y'all, pick the complaining because that's the easy one. Man, my day is so bad. I'm like, I know, Zach, 157,000 people died yesterday. You weren't one of them. I can't believe that your life's so bad. This person rolled me dead. Well, my neighbor just got shot in the head, bro, and died. This kid just got diagnosed with cancer. Like, dude, are you serious? So, Frank, that's how I am with myself. I don't play. I have perspective. I don't want to hear you whine and complain. I don't like it. I don't mess with it. And you just need to keep it away from me. And I hope that rubs off on other people. But when the worst thing happened in your life is, a client canceled or this lead didn't come in on time, dude, I'm sorry, man. I can't go there with you. I just can't. And I won't go there with you either. And, Frank, you know it. I'm just kind of like, do you have a solution to what this guy's complaining about? No. Okay. Then what do you want from me, bro? So yes, but Frank, all I do is put it in a box and bury it. I deal with it someday, just not that day. You know what I mean? It's like, and my buddy, I do this podcast with Chris Carter. He always says, my therapist, not court ordered. I'm like, dude, nobody thinks you have court ordered therapy. You ain't been in the right. And I'm like, my therapist, not court ordered. But dude, she said, why don't you just be a good person, not worry about the world saying you're great? Like, just be a good person. And what she said is you can't appease everybody. Just be the best person you can be. Stop worrying about being a great person so all these people say it. Just be the best person you can be, dude. Make the best decisions in every way you can. But a lot of us, Frank, we're so caught up with what everybody else thinks. And that's what doesn't allow us. That's where we don't get our perspective, because we're like, this happened. We call the three people that we know love to be negative, and they are. How many of you have been negative in any business you're in, this one as well, and you found the three most negative people you can find? And then it's like a negative fest, and you can't believe it. Everybody's negative. Everybody hates the world. And I'm over here going like, dude, I'm always happy. So they hate me. Why? Because I'm always happy. I don't give a shit. Like, and I'm happy about the business. Doesn't mean I'm happy, but I'm like, dude, I ain't complaining, bro. Like, I don't know what to tell you. I like accountable people that want to grow. And then I challenged, I had a group in my house the other day, Frank, you'll love this. I go, hey, because I thought I was making a point. I thought he was going to give me a different answer. They had 15 people come. Digna's great, but you tell her you're going to do something. She's like, I'm going to have my top producers. If they hit this number, they come to your house. Well, I forget I said it. She didn't. She's like, we got this. We're coming. I'm like, why are you coming to my house? What'd I do? She's like, you said that we could if we hit this number. I was like, yep, of course you can. And we're doing the train. I said, man, let me ask you something. I said, how many people at the company you think like me, percentage-wise? Now, Dom, I'm thinking we're doing a great training. He's going to say 100%, and I'm going to let him know that everybody doesn't always like you. He's like, I don't know, 20% of them? I was like, I thought the training's going good. He's like, well, no, you're really direct. And I was like, damn, that one hurt. And I was just playing, dude. I appreciate your honesty. What I was trying to explain to him is when you're working hard, but I don't do it, and you can't do it for the individual validation. You do it by just being a good person and doing the best that you can. And you're going to make mistakes. We all do. And then you correct them when you make them. And if you need to say you're sorry, you say you're sorry. But at the end of the day, Frank, what good comes out of you bringing in your personal BS into your business? When I ran appointments, which I know we do it over the phone now, what I used to say to myself and the agents I work with was, you leave all your stuff in the car. It'll still be there when you get done. Your life's, dude, I was running appointments, Frank, when my now ex-wife called me and was like, we need to get divorced. I'm running appointments. And I was like, well, hold on. We're trying to work it out for the kids. Frank, I wanted to be married. My parents weren't married. They both got married a bunch of times and end up never being married. I was like, I want to stop all these cycles in my family, get sober. I would die before I would hit a woman. All these things I'm going to do, like I'm going to break all these cycles in my family. And I didn't do that when with a marriage. I felt like somebody punched me, kicked me in the stomach, Frank. And I pulled over the car, realized that ain't going to help my kid. And I went back to work. It doesn't mean it wasn't hard. It doesn't mean I didn't think about it. It doesn't mean I didn't shed a few tears here and there. But Frank, we all got stuff. And that's what blows me away about financial stuff. Dude, if your biggest problem is a financial, that's a blessing. Like, that's a straight blessing. Like, if those are the biggest, you gotta be careful when you're complaining about money, when you're like, dude, you know what these people just went through? Like, do you know what they're going through right now? Like, and what you realize too, Frank, is the world just keeps moving. No matter what stuff you got going on. I got a friend of mine who lost his daughter when she was sick. I mean, she was sick from birth, and she lived a lot longer than they thought she would. She lived into her late teens, actually. And he said something to me one day that was really sobering. He said, I left the hospital when she was getting really, when it was getting bad. And he said, the doctor looked at me and said, he really could empathize where I was at. He had been with her. And he said, Shawn, it just made me realize, like, that guy has his own life. Like, life just keeps going on. Like, life just keeps going on. And I think that was the other thing I learned. Like, dude, I feel like this is happening to me, but like, the clients still need life insurance. The agents still need to get hired. And, you do the best you can. So, yeah, Frank, I go with my mom's, like, be careful what you complain about. You're going to get something to complain about. Like, I roll with that. Like, and the only book I read every day is the Bible. And I'm sorry, like my man, Pastor of Success, that thing scared the hell out of me. Like, I'll be honest with you. The other leadership books don't make me nervous at all. I'm like, yeah, whatever you're saying, Dave Anderson, I'm good. John Maxwell, you can say whatever you want. But I read that and I'm like, that's the word. And it's telling me what I can't do and how I need, and what, like, I'll read that thing and put it up, Dom, I put it away and I'm praying that I'm even more nervous. And I'm like, and it's a good feeling though. It's a good feeling of like, dude, all I can do is the best. But then there's this piece about, you know what? We're human beings. Like, there is grace and there's this unconditional love. So if I can be loved unconditionally, why can't I love myself unconditionally? So I think, and the greatest causation of a low self-image is lack of unconditional love. So if I can't love me unconditionally, how can I expect somebody else to love me unconditionally? Means you don't get to pick and choose when you love yourself because things aren't going well. And a lot of us have fallen out of love with ourselves when things haven't gone right. Dude, that ain't real. It's just not. So, that's kind of my deal, Frank. I'm a roll with God, and that seems to allow me to do the best I can.
We'll love it. Okay. Next question. When you're setting goals for yourself and then the agency, how do you get all of us to buy into the agency goal? Because we've hit a lot of, there's a lot of years you set goals, and when you set them, I'm like, but then I'm like 2 months in, I'm like, oh my gosh, like we're tracking. Like, how do you get people to believe that and then believe in themselves enough to help push for the goal for the team and then for themselves personally?
Well, when I break them down, I like to show the numbers and show it's achievable, right? So like early on, we were talking about $1 billion. When you say that, it seems like a lot. And then you're like, hey, guess what? If we had 10 teams doing 8 million a month, that's 100. Now, like you start to break, and again, that seemed like a lot, but then you're like, hey, this guy or girl's doing 4 to 5 million a month. What are they doing that everybody else can't do? Right. So I think that, all those, right. And none of that's wrong. Like I see in the chat, focus, all those things are right. But I think you need to be able to show people why you believe those goals are achievable. I think you need to be able to show them, and then kind of like, why not me? Why not us? Why not now? Like, I could be wrong. We'll see what happens. I am going to bet on it because I do like to gamble. I just think Notre Dame is better than people think because they're team. Now Ohio State might beat them by 2 or 3 touchdowns. I just think that when a team loves the team, bro, it's hard to mess. I just think they're hard to mess with. And I've gotten beat by teams that were not near as good as we were back in the day. And I'm like, dude, what just happened? And then when you kind of look back, you're like, man, we're not really a team. We're just a bunch of really good athletes. They're a team, and they straight up just beat the crap out of us, So Frank, I think showing people how, and then kind of going, okay, what's your part, right? So let's say your team, let's just pick a number. Let's say your team did 2 million this year, whatever agency you are, 2 million. And I go, what are y'all looking to grow by? You go, man, we want to go to 4 million. Okay, like 4 million. That means 100, like right now, forget about new people. If I did 20 grand a month on average last year for my team or myself, I got to go to 40. I start breaking down, can everybody on here double? And you're like, wait a minute, I could double. We do 100 grand a month. We could do Connecticut Huskies. Look at that, Dr. Prez. Good man. Can I do that number? Can I go to 200? Can I go to 4? So Frank, when we start breaking it down, now there's accountability. All right, Frank's committed. Now take some of the big teams. Frank, let's say we're doing 10 million a month. And I go, Frank, you do 4 million, bro. You think you could take it to 8 a month? Now it's a big commitment, but now we're all, and then I start talking about why I believe he's that good, why I believe she's that good. Like, I love that part of the beginning of the call. I love going, tell us what you're doing. I love that. Now, submitted leaderboards, I hope everybody's honest. I ain't no big submit. I'm a big, like, you self-report. Don't be self-reporting and look better than you are, because eventually we know who you are. You know, Dom knows. We got, that's like the Chris Chalk effect, we call that. I submitted $1.9 million this week. And it's like, bro, you didn't even write a policy. If that dude ever issued what he submitted, he'd have submitted $88 trillion a year. He'd have been the Federal Reserve, would have had to back up to his house and pay that fool. But, like, so my point is, we need to hold each other accountable to those numbers. But also, Frank, we start showing, you know, hey, you hit this number, this person hits this number. And the buy-in, Frank, comes from, I'm in it too. So I'm committed to doubling as well. So when we were doing that, my deal was like, what can I do? Well, we're going to build and travel. I'm going to tell you something. I ain't doing this again, but I'm going to tell you what I did, and I'm not doing it again. But there was a 4-year period, 4 years, Frank, that over 200 days, 262, 200 plus, 262 out of 365, and you're talking weekends, that I slept in a bed, not in my own house, traveling in a hotel room that I did not necessarily. Now, early on, it's exciting. Jump on the airplanes. And that was Southwest. Guy said to me the other day, he goes, you need to come to our lock-in. I said, I want to. He goes, well, you got to fly your own jet. I'm like, dude, I sold it. And he's like, why? I'm like, because it costs a couple $100,000 to run. And if I do that, then I got to take that money from somewhere. Do you want me to put it in the bonuses, or do you want me to fly private? He goes, no, you should keep flying commercial. I think that's a good idea. I was like, bro, JetBlue, I'm trying to get myself a JetBlue, like, top patch, whatever that is. They call that, what do they call that, JetBlue? The number, they always, no, not Mint. They call it before I get it. I don't have that yet, but I fly all the different airlines. They call it something. JetBlue. If y'all JetBlue, if you got in there, you know. But, like, I got Delta, American. I'll be getting American tomorrow. Like, I know how to get. I'll do the connect. I'm good, bro. I run up and down the freaking thing. The food sucks. Dom's Cinnabon's up in there, so I don't eat the Cinnabon anymore. But, like you have, it's not Paisley, Rami, I don't think. Unless you got a different one, Rami. You got a Mosaic. Schmidt knows Mosaic. They got Mosaic. And I'd be like, yo, can I get, and I don't even mess with them anymore. I don't even mess when people, like, they get pushed down the thing to get in the plane, and then they're faster than I am. They run the 40 in quicker time than me, but they pretend like that's bad. You should never pretend that you're disabled if you're not. I'm just telling you that right now, dude. I would never, ever, I don't even park in a handicapped spot for 5 minutes. I think that's bad juju, bro. It scares me. Like, I don't mess with that at all. But my point is, Frank, I did that to show everybody that I'm going to do my part too. Yes, I enjoyed it. Yes, I was working, but how it was hard. Hey, my guess would be, Frank, for you or Dominique, there's a bunch of Trey. I bet it was hard for y'all to go like, well, it's kind of hard not to work because this fool's been gone 3.5 weeks. Now, I don't do what I used to, but I will tell you, I leave tomorrow. I travel, come back for 1 day. Then I travel again for the entire time up to convention. And then after convention, I go to California. Like, so I'm not doing what I used to. It's not, I ain't going to lie to you, Alexander. It ain't 260 days, bro. But I'm still working because I work here. And that's what a lot of the folks like, you know, I think the cutest complaint I ever get is like, well, you know, I was just getting this and getting that. And I'm like, you talk a lot about what you're getting. What are you doing? And I think that's what you have to ask yourself. Like, what are you earning? Because the beautiful thing about entrepreneurship, the true glory as an entrepreneur is getting what you've earned. That's what's going to make you feel. I mean, it's not going to be get this guy to give me this. No. Now, Jesse, if you issue a certain amount and you get more bonus money, it's what you earn. But going, give me the, dude, that doesn't work because it's not fulfilling. So, you know, Frank, I don't know if that's a long answer to the goals, but I wanted to just empower people. And, you know, Also, anytime you have success in anything that doesn't require talent, you being egotistical about that success is really pathetic, but also it's just straight stupid, bro. You just worked harder. Like, I just had Chris Carter. We do a fully loaded podcast every week, blah, blah, blah. Chris Carter's, he's old. He's older than me. He's like 58, I think. I'm 52. Kendall, if he says, let's go out in the driveway and I'm going to run pass patterns and you can cover me, bro, I don't care if he was 70. He's a Hall of Fame football player. He still looks pretty freaking fast. Like, I ain't covering it. Like, I'm only going to hold his ass. I told him, you want to play? I'm not covering you fair. I'm holding you. 15 yards, better than a touchdown. 15 yards, better than, I ain't trying to cover him straight up. He's a Hall of Fame football player. He still looks like he can play. But, and you know what? But I asked him one day, I said, did you ever get mad at like when fans talked all that junk and you suck and he said, when God gives you a talent, to be egotistical about it is really to kind of, he said, what I was taught when I was young was you'd be like you were given that talent. You had an obligation. There's no talent here in the business. So I can understand if you can run down the field, catch a ball with one hand, or Saquon Barkley can jump over you backwards. Dude, I'm kind of like, when you're like, he's egotistical, I'm like, yeah, and? Like if I could turn backwards and jump over somebody, I probably would be too. I'll be honest with you. I'd be like, you see what I just did? Like, God, give all the grace, glory to God. But do you see what I just did? But in business, for me to get up and go, did you see what I just did? Yeah, what anybody could do. Yes, Kali, what anybody can do. She's proud I say her name right because I used to say it wrong and she corrected me. But just proud of, like, we have no ego in this business. That's why it keeps growing. So when you have goals, Frank, yeah, you break them down, you empower everybody, but you also yank the ego out of it. And when you do that, dude, the growth is, it don't stop. Problem is when it's ego, it's like, well, look at me, look what I've done. And then it's like, you can't give enough credit out and then nobody grows anymore.
We've seen that.
Yeah, ain't that. And for me, dude, like, I don't know. Like, they're all special. I'm like, I like dressing like this. I'm having some hamburger helper when I'm off the call. I'm fired up. I like hamburger helper. You get 2 boxes, an extra hamburger, put some cheese on. That's like $7 or something. And it's good. You know what I mean? So like, I'm just not that deep, dude. Like, I'm gonna be honest with you.
No, you're definitely not. All right, last question. I know you probably got a lot to do. 2025, where do you see, what's the vision for FFL and all these folks, whether they've been here for 2 days or 5 years, 10 years, what, if they're not an integrity partner, what do they need to do to get there? And then what can they expect from Family First Life as far as, anything new coming, support, goals, where are we going to be?
Well, that's a really good question, Frank. First of all, I think your focus needs to be, this needs to be the most profitable year for you. I think please, as an entrepreneur, it's profitability. Like, how are you doing? What kind of money are you making? And I think that's really like, that's where, when I work with certain agencies, they're excited when I come, and some are like, man, I hope you don't come because he's going to talk about us making money. Yeah. I'm going to be like, you're killing it. Yeah. Awesome, man. How much did you make this year? Well, I'm like, no, I don't know. That's why I'm asking. Like, Rashad, how much did you make? Well, I made this much. Cool. How much did you keep? Well, I'm like, no. And I'm like, no, dude, when I ask you, I don't know. That's why, because it's like one of those parent interrupts where people don't want you to keep asking them. We're like, well, I'm like, no, I don't know. Like when I asked my son, like, well, what are y'all doing tonight? I'm like, no, fool, I'm asking you. I don't know what y'all idiots are going to be doing. And it's New Year's Eve and you can't be drinking and driving out in the street. Like, what are you going to be doing? Like, I have that discussion with you. So what is your profitability goal? What is the ROI on what you're spending? I'm a big 90. I'm sorry if I'm a big 90-day guy. Now, I run a big company. When we build tech, it takes a year. So we don't like, it's not like there's certain things, but at your level, what has been your return on investment in the last 90 days of what you're putting your money into? How should I build a business? What Kendall talked about. I'm a big warm market guy, dude. If you look at the company, if we had, I'll tell you, recruiting leads people have bought to licensed contracted agents that have come out of that is like 1,000 to 1. So like you can do whatever you want. But I remember a guy said to me one day, he's like, well, Zach Twardowski, he came off of a Craigslist. And I was like, well, he the only one. So like, I don't tell you, maybe 3 people. Like he's good, but I'm just saying, like, I don't know. So I would remove my fear of talking to everybody and when you meet people, Grady Polson was doing a call the other day, and the guys that were on it, I recruited them. And they're like, he's like, well, how'd you get started? And they wanted some elaborate answer. The guy's like, Shawn came into valet, asked us if we like our job. We said no. He asked him how much. He was just, he didn't know I was on. I was listening. And he was just like, well, what'd he say to you? He goes, he asked us what the smallest tip we ever got was. And we told him $1. And Shawn said, did you punch the guy in the face for giving you $1? And we were like, no. And he was like, well, I would have punched him in the face if some grown man gave me $1 for parking the car. It's insulting. But that was my recruiting. But I talked to everybody, Zach, every single person. If you walk by me, dude, I recruit you. It doesn't mean you start, but I attempt. I do the best that I can. So, Frank, I really think that as you're looking at this year, and take every fear you got and write them out. Why are you not recruiting right now? List them all, every one of them. I'm afraid to talk to people. I'm afraid of debt. I'm afraid that I can't manage them. Whatever your fears are. And then I want you to take somebody you actually trust in the business and see how many of those are valid. Like at the end of the day, I'm big on valid fears. Like, have any of you ever seen a grizzly bear? I have a valid fear that thing will rip my arms off and beat me to death with them. So when I go hiking in areas that have grizzly bears, I bring bear spray because them fools will kill you. But a snake, I don't jump when I see a snake because, like, unless I'm somewhere where they got rattlesnakes, that shit ain't going to kill me, Raina. It's a long black gardener snake, dude. What's it going to do? Slither by me? I'm going to have a heart. I'm big on taking the fears you got and seeing how valid they are. Because, Frank, what's stopping everybody in business is not lack of talent. There is no talent. It's the wrong mindset and not the right work ethic. What usually undermines both those? Fear. The fear. Like, what does that conversation look? I don't know what, what Ryan, he needs to rein his business. And I don't know what that is. I can only read a part of it, but which is okay. But my point is that, Frank, I rationalize my fears. And I don't really have any because they're not rational. When people go, well, that's what being anxious is. You have a fear of something that doesn't make any kind of sense. And I'm like, yeah, dude, I don't participate in that. I'm not mad at you. I'm just not. Like, I'm good. Like, at the end of the day, what would stop? What are you going to get from FFL? Dude, more of what we're doing now. I think when you look at what we're doing, now listen, what percentage of your business, Frank, do you think is IUL premium? What percentage?
Right now, 50.
Okay. Our goal is 75% by the end of the year. Y'all are ahead of the curve because the company's like 35%. 75% of it to be IUL premium because that stuff stays in the books 90% of the time after 13 months, which eliminates the number one fear in recruiting, which is debt. That is the number one fear, whatever you want to say. That I never had that fear, only because I hired people I knew. There was no way Dominique Rogers was going to roll debt to me. Number one, I knew him. Number two, I knew where he lived. I'll take his damn car. I don't give a shit. I'm getting my money. Now, I'm not saying you should do that. I'm just saying, I was like, bro, I'm not playing, but I knew everybody. Eric Schmidt, he better not, I'm getting my money, but I didn't have thousands of people on my team. But IUL premium, Frank, we started with annual convention, which is what you wanted me to end with. Guys, this will be, We have 131 people speaking. How many of you were at Ignite in Florida at that event? What am I wrong, Raina, Kali? Is it Amaka? Am I pronouncing that correctly? Is it Amaka? How many of you believe that was Kendall? How many believe that was the best event you had been to? Like, I think that was the best event. I mean, Mike, Frank, guys, it was Jesse. He went twice. He was like, yo, he went twice. My buddy, how good was Chris today? He was like, bro, I'm gonna tell you something right now. These guys got to stop doing this waddle thing. I said, why? He goes, because they're white. They got to leave that up to us. Like, they got to stop. And I was like, yo, he does look weird when he does it. He's like, they just need to do this. Just keep them hands right there, but don't move them at all. They don't look bad. But when they start doing this thing with no rhythm, it looks weird. I was like, that's why you never see me do that. Like, I know my role. I know my play. So, but you got to understand that was the best event we ever had because of how many people you got to hear from. And also 10-minute talks, 5 minutes apiece, 3. Dude, now I force you to bring your best 3 or 5 minutes. Tim Grover is a very good talk. He speaks everywhere. He's like, well, dude, I can do like 30 minutes. Like, he's like, I'll do longer, but but we kind of forced everybody to bring the value to you. When they're speaking for 30, 45 minutes, then they want to entertain. Then you get unfunny people trying to make you laugh. They try to be storytellers. The stories ain't any good. And they start saying stuff they shouldn't say. They're like, well, you cuss. I'm like, I cuss with a purpose. And I've been cussing since I was 2 months old. You just started cussing to sound like like it sounds weird, dude. Like, I don't even like when you do that. And don't take the Lord's name in vain either, because that's a bad idea. Like, yeah, I say this, like, that's on you, but I ain't messing with it. But my point is, like, we're going to have the most unbelievable event you've ever been part of. And if you can't find somebody to connect with, Tim Grover said it well. We should have clipped that out. He said, walk me through who you're bringing in to speak. I said, you, Dion, Eric Thomas, Dave Anderson, Chris Carter. We're going to have to prep him, though. Yeah. Because he's psychotic. So I'm like, yo, like, if you've all heard him in our little me, he can't do that because he's threatening people. And it's like, he's over to Frank, right? You heard him, like, bro, we're going to have like 6,000. You can't do what you did with the 40 that I had. Because he say something off the wall, everybody go to jail. Like, we can't be having that, And then we, like, you look at all the people we got. Kenny, the funny salesman, he's unbelievable online. And Tim said, man, you'd have to try hard not to grow at this event. And I was like, that's well said. He goes, don't worry, some will try, Shawn, but you'd have to try hard. And, but what you have the opportunity, and I'll close with this, is you have the opportunity to change somebody's life. And, we had and some of you heard this story, most of you have not. Somebody asked me the other day, what's the most impactful comment I've got as it pertains to annual convention? And I had a guy send me an email. Frank, you've heard me tell this story, I believe. And I'm reading the email and I got tears in my eyes. And this guy came to our convention after he decided that he was going to take his own life. Like, I'm 100% going to kill myself. My family's messed up. My personal life's messed up. My financial life, I bring no value. He spells this very well written too. And I get this email and I'm reading it. I'm like, I start getting engrossed in it and I don't even look to see who sent it to me. So I look up, see it. I don't recognize the name. He says, I came to he called it my event. So I'm like glad he's still alive because he came to my event. He called it. And he was he was going to kill himself on his birthday. And not at the event, but it wasn't that long after the event he was going to kill himself. And he said, he's not, by the way, he still works with us. He's not he's not top of the leaderboards. But he said, what made me change my opinion on where I was in life was the way people treated me at the event. They treated me like somebody. And people hadn't treated me like somebody in a long time. And he went on and on. I had reached out to him. But My point is, you never know what people are going through. You have literally no idea. I ain't never going to apologize for pushing Dominique to go to the event, or Schmidt, or Frank, or Mike Sizer brought up today. He's like, remember I went to the first event? He goes, I don't think I'm going to go. I go, I wasn't asking you. I don't know where you thought that was like a question. I said, don't they teach you at Southeastern Technical Institute? That was a declaration. That wasn't an interrogatory. You are going to the event. I ain't asking, because I ain't working with you if you don't go. Like, no, you're going. And, you know, to Kali's, I wasn't going to my first event. Like, had I not gone to my first event, I wouldn't be here either. You know, Mike Sizer said, I said, what was it? He just said this earlier. I didn't know this. Maybe I never asked him. He said, I went to the meeting. He said, I was not very outgoing. I didn't think I'd be good at sales. He was 22. He's like, I was young, not making any money. I'm like, you were 22. Like, I mean, you're like, I love you, but you weren't 18. You were 22 in 4 years after you graduated high school, no college. You were not that young, kid. You were 4 years removed from education, and you weren't making no damn money. And he said, I listened to Andrew Taylor talk on stage, and I realized that he didn't seem to have, like, he wasn't that outgoing. He seemed uncomfortable. He seemed introverted, and he was 20 and I was 22. I said, you also both realized you smoked a lot of weed. So you all had you had your own delay, because like you was getting high a lot, both of you. So like, let's be honest, you connected with him. But I tell you all that because had he not gone, as good as I was doing selling, I think he would have quit. Because I think he would have been like, yeah, Shawn's pretty good at this, but he talks shit and he's outgoing. I don't know how to, I'm trying to, and I could have done my best to build him up as a person, but he went to an event he couldn't afford. So 100% of you need to be there, because 100% of you need to be there. And guess what? Either the meeting needs you or you need the meeting. And guess what? That guy that went to the meeting interacted with people at that meeting. And they didn't know. They still don't know. But the meeting needed them, and they didn't even know it. They didn't even know they interacted with this guy. They didn't even know they just were nice to him as a human being. They offered him help, gave out their cell number, said, here's our dial rooms, you can get in it. They didn't even know they did it. Because at FFL, that's the culture we got. It isn't, look at me, I'm great. Because if you get up on stage and tell people you're great, you know, trust and believe, I'm always within 2 minutes of that stage. I will be up on that stage with him going, bro, did you hear what he said? Like, did you hear what he said? He said he was great. That's adorable. I don't give a damn who it is. I don't care is it John Jones? Is he the one, the fighter? I don't care if it's John Jones. I will get up there. Just be a good person. I'll take an ass beating by John Jones in front of all of y'all defending the company, because I'd say he better kill me, Dominique, but I think he would actually kill me, like take my life. But I'm in. Like, we are going to stand up for what we believe in. So listen, man, I appreciate letting me get on, Frank. I love doing this stuff. I love working here. I love being with y'all. I love the company. I love the event. And you know, it's man, it's hard. And then you get like Dominique and y'all, and I get like really emotional about it, dude. I just appreciate what you guys are doing. I appreciate who you are. And you each can get 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 people at the event. And I won't let you down. You know, Tim Grover said, man, I won't let you down. I said, I won't let you down. I'm going to show up, and because it requires no talent, all I got to do is work my ass off and put any ego aside and do my thing. So please get there. I can't wait to see y'all there. And Frank, I appreciate y'all. Tell Jamie whatever all that was ahead of time. Makes me feel real bad about the company. We got to step our game up. So she's now in charge of the corporate office and everything that happens over there with our calls. But I mean, it means the world to me, man, to see y'all. Pastor Success, I need you to come to every meeting. He makes me feel better just because that, like, he's always laughing. Like, I need him. If he comes to every meeting, I'd be better as a human being. You should, like, if I start traveling again, we need to travel together. You just need to come with me and we'll do it together, bro, because I'll do better with you on my side. So I appreciate it. Jesse, you submitted more in a small country, but we could get everybody to submit 40 grand. Kendall, you recruited a ton of people, 14 this week. We get everybody to recruit 14, and we share what we do and we believe in each other. And that's why nobody can beat us, because we're a land of misfits, bunch of imperfect people helping imperfect people, but we kick everybody's ass. So what we're doing must be working. And if God's in charge, then life is really good. So we appreciate y'all. Thank you, guys. Thanks, Frankie.
Thank you, Shawn. Appreciate you, man. Love you. All right, guys, we'll see y'all Thursday for the Thursday for the SRS call. Tomorrow, the CRM training. Wednesday is the product training. We'll see y'all soon. Appreciate y'all. Love you. Thank you, Shawn. Bye.